Okay, watch this before you go to Mexico City because I read hundreds of reviews, got all the local tips, tried it all, and then built the ultimate 7-day Mexico City itinerary. All right, day one, we're going to Ule for breakfast. This is a hybrid coffee shop and record store in the Condesa neighborhood. Coffee, food, vibes, aesthetic, all 10 out of 10. All right, then we're gonna go walk over to Chapultepec Castle and Park. This is the most beautiful castle I've ever seen. It's the only true castle in North America where royalty actually lived. It has gardens, architecture, exquisite views of Mexico City. This place is huge. You could spend 2 to 4 hours here easily. And I also recommend going earlier in the day to avoid the large crowds. Okay, and then surrounding the castle is Chapultepec Forest or Park. They're used interchangeably, but it's almost 1,700 acres. It's massive. And after all that walking, you are going to be hungry, so it's time to go to lunch. You can walk over to this really cute plant-based restaurant in Condesa called Viga Wisma, and they have fresh juices, drinks, and flavorful healthy dishes. And then it's time for a sweet treat at Carmela. We got some gelato and sorbet, and then here's a list of other restaurants I recommend in the Condesa area. This is definitely an artsy neighborhood, so there's also really cool concept stores like Casa Salt and Muni. And then here's a quick list of some other cute shops in Condesa. All right, go back to your hotel room, change. Then we went to the Soho House, which is in the Colonia Juarez neighborhood. And I know it's members only, but you can also become a Soho Friends member for only $130 a year, and you get access to book rooms, events, and restaurants. Or just hit up a friend who's a member, but honestly, it's worth it for the spicy marks and architecture alone. Okay, day two, breakfast at Fruto de Raiz. This place was so good. We went a couple times. Everything here is fresh, delicious. They have gluten-free options, and it's woman-owned. And then we figured out the public bikes, which was really easy. You just have to download the app, and we rode them all the way to the La Ciudadela market. This is definitely the most colorful artisan market, and they had the best handmade goods. Everything's authentic, and it's the best way to support local artists. I can also do a more in-depth tour on this. Just let me know in the comments, but I did make a whole separate video on everything I bought here if you're curious. And then on Sundays, there's also a vintage market down the street called Lagunilla Sunday Antiques Market. It's a treasure trove for vintage and antique lovers. Since the goods were heavy, we had to go drop it off at the hotel. And then we went to the San Angel, which is this charming historic neighborhood with cobblestone streets, tons of small shops. And then on Saturdays, they have more artists selling their art outside from 10 to 7. It's called Bazaar El Sabado. And there's this beautiful upscale restaurant called Saks. They have live music, stunning decor, impeccable service. It's definitely a memorable dining experience. Look at how beautiful this bar is. This is just one section of the restaurant. It's massive. Definitely a memorable dining experience. Okay, day 3, there's this amazing guided tour you can do where they pick you up. They take you to Xochimilco, which is famous for its colorful boats, historic canals, and floating gardens that were created by the Aztecs over 700 years ago for agriculture and still used today. So you cruise through the canals, you enjoy live mariachi music, and you learn about axolotls, those fascinating Pokemon-looking creatures that originated from here, and they can regenerate limbs. Okay, then we're gonna leave that UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we're gonna go to the colorful and peaceful town of Coyoacan, which is where Frida Kahlo lived. He takes you around, you walk through the parks, he teaches you about the history. We went to some markets, a church for the architecture. We went to Jardines Centenario. We stopped to get some churros, and then we stopped at Mercado de Coyoacan for lunch. And this market's known for its diverse array of food stalls with traditional Mexican dishes, fresh produce, and a ton of different shopping and souvenirs. And then after lunch, walk over to the Frida Kahlo Museum, also known as Casa Azul. It's actually her home turned into a museum. So the tour goes from 10 to 3, and I highly recommend booking it because the tickets to Casa Azul usually sell out. But our guide had everything handled, making the whole experience so much easier and stress-free. Day 4 is the full guided tour to Grutas de Tolantongo. I made a whole separate video on that with all the details. But basically, you leave before 6, you get back around 8 p.m. It's 1,000% worth it. The hot springs, caves, zip lining, waterfalls, it's unreal. Day 5, breakfast at the famous Panaderia Rosetta. I'm trying, you guys. Try the famous guava roll pastry and pair it with a latte or matcha. Chef's kiss. And then it's time to go to Nido de Quetzalcoatl / Parque Quetzalcoatl. If you're lucky enough, you could stay at the Airbnb here, but it was totally booked, so we set up a private guided tour, and I shared details on how to do that in a previous video, but definitely set up a car service through them ahead of time because it makes it so much easier. This is also 1,000% worth it, and I would go back just to stay at that Airbnb. They don't do the tours every day, so make sure you look at that ahead of time. We did the one from 1 to 3, but they also have a morning tour, and this is about 30 to 40 minutes outside Mexico City. It's such a surreal architectural wonder. Sculpture gardens, crystal caves. It's just beautiful organic architecture by Javier Senosian. Then head over to Roma Norte. This is one of the coolest neighborhoods in Mexico City. It's artsy, walkable, and packed with trendy cafes, boutiques, galleries, and some of the best restaurants in the city. I put together a list of some cool restaurants and shops worth checking out in Roma here. Get a paleta at La Pantera Fresca, then go have dinner at Santo Handroll Bar, and then go get churros at El Moro. Literally the best churro I've ever had in my life. They've been around since 1935. It's so cute. There was live music outside, and they have vegan churros. Day 6, Teotihuacan Pyramids. Do a tour. I'll link the one that we did in my blog blog post, which is where I'll just link everything. The tour that we did, we left at 6:20 a.m. We returned about 1 p.m. You can do a hot air balloon, but they did have an accident a few years ago. And you have to wake up at like 4 a.m. This was definitely my least favorite activity we did, but I feel like it's something you just have to do. The energy was dark there. I don't know. And then after this, they'll take you back to the city and go to the Anthropology Museum. This is home to some of the most important artifacts from ancient Mesoamerica cultures like the Aztec sunstone and Mayan treasures. You could spend about 2 to 4 hours here also. And what's cool about this museum is it also has an open air design with this massive waterfall that I showed in the beginning. It's stunning. Okay, day 7, start at Zona 2 for coffee and breakfast. Then get an Uber and go over to Biblioteca Vasconcelos. This is the coolest library I've ever been to. It's so futuristic. The design is super sci-fi with floating shelves and transparent floors that makes the whole space feels so surreal. Okay, then you can go to Zocalo and Palacio de Bellas Artes and then go shopping in Polanco and have dinner at Ryoshi. The service and food was 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend sitting at the bar because it's so fun to watch them prepare the dishes. They are true artists. Okay, so Polanco is basically the Beverly Hills of Mexico City. It has a lot of luxury shopping, designer everything, and some of the fanciest restaurants. But yeah, that's my 7-day Mexico City itinerary, and everything will be linked on my blog post.